Welcome to another Less Than 10 character guide where we cover all the necessary information in less than 10 minutes. We'll go over all the skills, weapons, artifact builds, and brief team ideas without wasting any of your time. If at any moment you feel like we're going too fast, remember to hit that pause button and take it all in. After all, there's a pause button for a reason. My name is Balthier and I'll be your guide. Now let's get into Dehya in less than 10. So let's start with Dehya's Ascension stat. Dehya will be scaling with both attack and HP percent, but as you ascend her up, she will receive HP passively up to 28.8%. This will help you out later, but it's not absolutely vital. Normal attacks. Dehya's normal and charge attacks are not essential to her kit in most builds as she is designed for quick swap teams. Her normals strike for a 4-hit combo, and her charge attack is the sweeping variety Claymores use. Moving on to her skill, the backbone of her kit, Molten Inferno. When Dehya does not have any active field present when she activates her skill, she will cast what's known as Indomitable Flame, both dealing AoE pyro damage and creating Fiery Sanctum. Fiery Sanctum is a relatively large AoE field in which when an opponent standing inside of it takes damage, it will deal a coordinated attack. This coordinated attack deals AoE pyro damage based off of Dehya's attack and max HP. It can only be triggered every 2.5 seconds and is not a reliable source of damage, but it is reliable for reactions like Overload and Burgeon. The most important thing about Fiery Sanctum's field, however, is any character standing inside of it receives resistance to interruption, and a portion of the damage they receive is mitigated and stored into what's called Redmane's Blood. Redmane's Blood is essentially a meter equal to 200% of Dehya's max HP. Damage stored by Redmane's Blood will be taken by Dehya instead over the course of 10 seconds. Once this damage exceeds 200% of Dehya's max HP, however, she will stop converting the damage until it dips below again. In short, Dehya helps mitigate incoming damage so it's easier for healers to deal with. Only one Fiery Sanctum can exist at the same time, and when Dehya activates her skill again while a field does exist, she will instead activate Raging Flame, dealing slightly more AoE pyro damage and repositioning her Fiery Sanctum. This is very essential in keeping uptime on its uses as enemies can move quite a bit. When Dehya activates her ultimate, Leonine Bite, she decides to bring Fist to a knife fight. While using her ultimate, she increases her resistance to interruption and starts automatically using Flame Mane's Fist, where she punches the opponent for pyro damage, scaling with both attack and max HP. The Final Strike Incinerating Dive has Dehya Dive Kick dealing a higher amount of AoE pyro damage, scaling off of attack and HP once more. When she activates her ultimate while a Fiery Sanctum is active, she will pick it up and drop it again after her ult, keeping the remaining duration. This allows her to not waste any uptime on her field while she ults. It's important to take note that you can't jump during your ult or you'll cancel it entirely, but you can dash if you need to avoid some serious damage in a pinch. But I wouldn't worry since her resistance to interrupt is so high in this state, I've never seen her get knocked back. You can also press the normal attack button after each strike, activating Roaring Barrage, which will increase the speed of the next Flame Mane's Fist. At base, she will automatically strike 6 times within the 4 seconds.
You're dead meat. Falcon kick!
But using this feature correctly allows you to perform up to 10 total within the duration, making it very vital that you pull this off.
You asked for it. Falcon kick!
None of these attacks count as normal or charged attacks, however, so characters like Yelan, Beidou, and Xingqiu do not work with her. But she's honestly better suited for overload teams anyways.
Emerge.
Every one of Flame Mane's Fist strikes homes in on the enemy, so if you overload and they get sent flying back, you stay glued to them so you can keep dealing damage. Using characters like EM Yaemiko and Kuki Shinobu allows Dehya to constantly keep pyro applied so that they are the ones triggering overload. As I said earlier, Dehya is best suited for quick swap teams. Your usual playstyle with Dehya involves dropping skill, swapping off unloading the rest of your team,
Illusion shattered. Final warning.
swapping back, ulting before Fiery Sanctum is gone, and then repositioning Fiery Sanctum after ult for your next character. This will ensure you keep full uptime on Fiery Sanctum. Dehya's A1 passive Unstinting Sucker helps her whole kit really come together and is almost necessary for her to function. It makes it so for 6 seconds after she retrieves Fiery Sanctum, so by reactivating her skill or ultimate, she will take 60% less of the damage stored up in Redmane's Blood, as well as increasing the resistance to interruption even more while a character is inside Fiery Sanctum. Then finally, her A2 passive allows her to recover 50% of her max HP when she dips below 40. First an initial 20%, then 6% every 2 seconds for 10 seconds. These both increase her tanking potential exponentially. As her talent priority, go skill then burst, as leveling her skill increases damage mitigation by up to 50%. But if you're looking for more damage, go burst then skill. You can ignore her normal attacks altogether. Now that we've covered Dehya's skills and abilities, let's dive into some weapons and artifacts. Alright, so with weapons, we'll be starting with 5-star choices and then 4-star alternatives, always starting with the signature weapon. Dehya's signature weapon, Beacon of the Reed Sea, is naturally her best in slot and gives her everything she needs. It offers 33.1% crit rate, 20% attack after hitting an opponent with your skill, and an additional 20% after taking damage, then finally 32% HP when not having a shield. Moving on, we have 2 backups if you don't have her signature, Wolf's Gravestone and Skyward Pride. Either of these are a good substitute on Dehya. Wolf's Gravestone offers a lot of attack percent, and if you use it, you should focus HP percent or ER in artifacts. Skyward Pride can help you out if you're struggling to get enough ER on Dehya. When moving artifact stats around, they both perform similarly, however, Wolf's Gravestone does buff your party's attack, so I would prioritize it over Skyward Pride. Moving on to 4-star choices. We have the new craftable weapon from Natlin, Earthshaker. This claymore has a pretty solid base attack for a 4-star sitting at 565, and it gives 27.6% attack as a substat. It also increases our elemental skill damage by 16% after triggering a pyro-related reaction. Since Dehya prefers Overload and Burgeon teams, this is a solid choice for free-to-plays. Then lastly, we have Aquamaru. If you manage to bag one of these, it's an amazing 4-star option on Dehya, as it has good base attack and offers attack percent as a substat, and its effect boosts Dehya's elemental burst damage by up to 40% based on our party's combined energy cost. Any other claymores that offer HP percent, attack percent, or energy recharge are good options as well, so just keep those stats in mind. Moving on into artifacts and stats. For artifact stats, Dehya wants ER, attack percent, or HP percent on her sands. Aim for 150 to 170% energy recharge, and prioritize attack over HP percent unless you have C1. For her goblet, you can take pyro damage or HP percent. Prioritize pyro damage, but HP percent is a decent alternative at C1. And for her crown, you can take crit rate or crit damage, whichever one you need more. For sets, you'll want Severed Fate, since it not only solves her energy problems, but it also boosts her burst damage. If you don't have a good Severed Fate set, you can also go for Vodakashu's Glow, but since we want energy recharge anyways, Severed Fate is a better option. While you're farming for a Severed Fate set, you can also use 2-piece sets with ER, attack percent, or HP percent. And now we'll end things off with some quick team ideas. The 3 major teams you'll see Dehya's most potential in are Mono Pyro, Overload, and in some cases, Burgeon. We're going to start with Overload since it's my personal favorite, and then move over to Mono Pyro, then end with Burgeon. Overload Dehya's primary teammate is going to be Chevreuse. She's basically the Kazuha of Overload teams and will not only be buffing pyro and electro damage for the team, but shredding those resistances as well. If you don't have Chevreuse, you can use Kuki and an Animo character to buff your overall Overload damage. The rest of your team should be off-field electro or pyro characters. If you have Kuki, use Shangling. If you don't have Kuki, use Fischl or Yae Miko. I personally like to run Dehya, Raiden Shogun, Yae Miko, and Chevreuse. Mono Pyro is very simple but can deal quite a bit of damage depending on your investment. Basically use Shangling, Bennett, and a Sucrose or Kazuha to use Viridescent Venerer and shred pyro resistance. Now with Burgeon, I don't fully endorse this, but it works. Essentially, you're going to be giving Dehya all Elemental Mastery artifacts and using her coordinated attacks to trigger Burgeon. The rest of your team just has to be Hydro and Dendro. I find Tartaglia to be the best on field for this team. You want to ensure enemies are inside Dehya's Fiery Sanctum, so melee is better at achieving this. In this team, Dehya's ult will be useless, so I find it a waste of her potential when characters like Toma can do the same. And with these 3 teams and everything I taught you today, you now have a few options and ideas to really get your Dehya rolling. That being said, that was everything you need to know about Dehya in less than 10. If this guide helped you out in any way, please don't forget to hit that like button and overload the subscribe button. Speaking of Overload, if you want a deeper dive in how I run my Overload team with a full showcase, you should click on the video in the top left of your screen. And if you're interested in a less than 10 guide on Raiden Shogun, click on the top right. Other than that, I hope you have a wonderful day. Till next time.